Teenagers were finally beginning to dress as individuals, and by the beginning of the decade, new tribes emerged. The Doc Martin dandy was born. Skinheads, suedeheads and soul boys created their own look, which embraced traditional men's clothing, but gave it an edge and an attitude of its own.
I mean, most things in fashion, style, music are a reaction to something else. Before glam rock, the overriding working class youth look had been skinhead, which was very regimented. You could only wear a Ben Sherman, Levi Stay Press, a Crombie coat. It was all very much kind of dictated.
I'd rather be a skinhead than anything else. He's a much smarter dressed person than a hippie or a rocker. He looks smarter, his hair always looks cleaner. His appearance is much cleaner, I think.
I want all you skinheads to get up on your feet. Put your braces together and your boots on your feet and give me some of that old moon stomping.
I am W-O-O-O, and I'm still here again.
Meanwhile, the influence of second-generation British immigrants began to make itself heard, with ska and soul music becoming popular.
I think what you were witnessing there, particularly among the young skinheads and mods and all of that who were into that, was actually the first sign of the multicultural England. Because those skinheads, with their skanking dances and their ska records, were the first generation of white English kids to grow up with black neighbours, black schoolmates, to grow up with those rhythms.
Skinheads were dancing to ska music and just eating it up. And I think that a lot of the British people probably wondered what was happening to their kids. And it came into England with a force. And all the kids who felt that music still feel it today.
You've got to understand that there's a great tradition of the white working class youth aligning themselves with the rebel sounds that were around at that time. And invariably, that's always been black music. I think the difference with the 70s experience is that the effect was a lot more direct. No longer were people listening to musics from the Mississippi Delta. You know, we were growing up next door to people. It was more River Thames than the Mississippi Delta.
In urban areas, there was a lot of mixing between young working class white lads and young black Caribbean males because they had a lot of things in common. And that kind of coalesced for some young skinheads, white skinheads, around an interest in reggae music and black kind of cultural artifacts.
Bob Marley was a dominant personality.
The first time that a generation of black people who were born in Britain announced a voice, found a culture, identified, found a way to create a collective identity. It's not like everyone who's black became a dread, but pretty much most black people in Britain liked Bob Marley.
I had black mates at school who suddenly could walk really proud because Bob Marley was suddenly everybody's hero, and it was cool to have locks, and it was cool to, you know, smoke a bit of ganja and all of that. And so suddenly, all these kids who'd been ostracised, who'd you know, been battered about by the police and insulted by their neighbours, suddenly they were hip. And I think that was fantastic. That was one of the best influences of the way that kind of reggae became important in England.
It's our business to steer it.
Whether you were into heavy metal or whether you were into northern soul or whether you were into reggae, you were putting your distance between what you were doing and the mainstream. And if the mainstream was ABBA and the Bee Gees and Chicory Tip, you didn't want to know that.
Well away from the mainstream in a corner of Lancashire, Northern Soul was born, when working class boys and girls found their own brand of soul with its own unique dance floor athletics.
The fact of the matter is that the Wigan Casino has been in existence for 10 years. We decided to become an all-night session because there is a particular demand from the soul fraternity who wants to stay out all night to follow their kind of music. Because this is what the kids want. It isn't something we want, it's something they want.
People came from all over England to them. Not really for the music, but rather than the sense of belonging, the community feeling. People were nice to each other, so people thought, well, it's worth the travel.
The drug-fueled all-nighters of the legendary Wigan Casino were the precursor to the raves of the late 80s.